Charles Duncan. If you like this book, consider picking up my other book, 5-Minute Habits, Your Guide to Forming Positive, Long-Lasting Habits for Powerful Success in Business and Relationships. Here are some reviews. This book has been a life changer for me. It is very simple, yet sharp to the point, and got me to take actions immediately after reading. Agnes. Chock full of good ideas for new habit formation, and it's something that I will refer to again and again over the coming months. Highly recommended. Cameron. Great book on habits. The info is quick and actionable, which I love. Already outline a plan for myself to break my bad habits and start forming new, positive, life-enhancing habits. Peter. Chapter 1 Introduction. The law of attraction is like a conduit that runs from you to the pool of wants. In this pool of wants there is an abundance of whatever you could possibly desire that you truly believe will bring about the good in your life. But the caveat here is that you must truly believe in it. If you do not truly believe in it, there is no attraction, and the results are tepid, at best. Disastrous at worst. Imagine a magnet. Place this magnet in front of an unknowing aboriginal tribe who have never come across such a phenomenon, and watch them cower in amazement or recoil at the wizardry. If you want to up the ante, place an electromagnetic device in front of them and turn the magnet on and off discreetly, and they will be even more amazed. Hold this picture in your head, because the opposite of this reaction is the reaction of incredulity and disbelief. Just because they couldn't see it, authorities from Copernicus to Galileo's time disregarded heliocentricity. Beware of totally disbelieving things which you cannot see with your eyes and hear with your ears, because those senses can be easily fooled. Silly illustrations and jokes aside, the physics of magnetism and electromagnetism are known to all of us since the time we were in grade school. We know that there is a force that is created when energy is supplied to the element in a certain way, and that is what is pulling the metallic object to the magnet. It's not a big deal. Even though we can't visually observe the direct force of attraction pulling the object, we know there is a force that does it. Just like gravity. That same logic applies to other forces as well, including the force of attraction. Just like the law of gravity describes the force, so too does the law of attraction describe this force. You can't always see it, or use any of your other senses to perceive it, but you can use your intellect and logic to observe its effects. There is a force that attracts situations and outcomes to human beings as well. This force does not distinguish between good and bad, fortunate or unfortunate. It just attracts, and it does so in large quantities. What does it attract? It attracts the opportunities that you need to make your desires come true. There is a lot of misunderstanding when it comes to this law of attraction. Here is what I can assure you: if you try to attract the winning lottery number, it won't work. This is not a wishing well. The law of attraction is a universal constant that aligns opportunities for the betterment of the person who is attracting the elements. Take note, though. All these are merely analogies. The pool, the conduit, the magnets, all of it, are just a way to relate such a powerful, invisible force in language that the human mind can comprehend. The truth behind the law of attraction is that it programs your subconscious to identify, create and highlight the opportunities you need to achieve the results you consciously and secretly desire. Sometimes, this even means that if you believe that you need to be poor to achieve a level of piety, then no matter how much you try to be wealthy, you will never be able to get the final touches in your quest. You will subconsciously sabotage yourself. There are numerous horror stories that relate to this part of the law of attraction. One that I have seen with my own eyes is a woman who was divorced 6 times, and she's only in her 50s. None of her divorces was something that she consciously wanted, but they all happened anyway. Under hypnosis, it was revealed that her mother had repeatedly told her that men are useless and that the moment they show any kind of weakness, it was time to leave and look for greener pastures. That statement burrowed deep into her belief system, something we will look at in another chapter, and dictated her every move. When she was brought out of hypnosis, and prior to replaying the session's recording, she was asked to describe the situations that preceded each of her divorces. She revealed that each divorce was preceded by problems, and each of the 6 men had in fact accused her of sabotaging their careers or businesses. Upon listening to the tape, she eventually broke down in tears and understood what led to all those divorces. She had subconsciously orchestrated each husband's failure, then divorced them just to make the words of her mother come true. It was a devastating revelation, and one that we can all learn from. In the same way, the law of attraction is a subconscious process that will set you up for what you believe you deserve. In the case of the woman above, she believed her mother and believed that those things would come to pass. To make absolutely sure they did, she went out and constructed the circumstances. The subconscious is not a good judge of good and bad, because in the cosmic sense, there is no such thing. Good and bad are what we have used to categorize actions based on centuries of combined repercussions. Why is not brushing teeth bad for you? Well, it's not bad for you initially, but if you keep on avoiding it, you will eventually contract some form of gum disease. How do we know that? Because someone long ago studied it, and many countless people experienced it. So because we now know the outcome is not pleasurable, instead of explaining the details, we've categorized it as bad. The subconscious is not a filter for good and bad, it just gets things done. You have to decide what you want, and your subconscious will place in your path. That is the law of attraction. Chapter 1 Exercise. To feel what the law of attraction feels like, think of a friend that you haven't spoken to in a long time and would like to talk to. Think of that friend intently and drink a half glass of water each night, and drink the balance in the morning. Within a few days an opportunity to speak or meet the person will present itself. Additional exercise: find small rituals that are seemingly unnoticeable to others and begin performing them with different objectives. Drinking the water before falling asleep and after waking is a brief ritual. Find others that you can do and attach them to specific requests. For instance, create a breathing ritual 4 times you need to invoke calmness. Chapter 2 Living for Success. It is said that there are only 2 constants in life. The first is that we all have an identifiable beginning, the day we are born. Second, we all have a finite end, sometime in the future. The time in between is all we have to make whatever we want out of this life. Some conquer countries, others make humanity better by their contributions. By doing any number of things, man has found a way to escape the confines of those beginning and ending points and becoming immortal in the minds of those who follow. What makes those men different from you? What makes the likes of Julius Caesar, Albert Einstein, George Washington, and Steve Jobs different from you? There is only one discernible, logical answer to that. They made use of their time on earth well. If you want to succeed in life, there is nothing else you need to do than to get a grip of that fact. The better you make use of the time you have, the farther you will travel and the more you will achieve. Whether it is wealth that inspires you, fame or power, how much you do in the shortest period of time will determine how long after you your name will live on. Even if our goals aren't as audacious as living eternally in infamy, at the very least, we would like to reap the rewards of our labor in this lifetime. Even then, the same principles apply. Success, in any field, is a function of habits that take advantage of opportunities. The law of attraction is the ability to attract immense opportunity. When you combine them, you get an indestructible force that results in wealth and success. The more habits you create that promote positive results, and the more you rid yourself of destructive habits, the more you'll find yourself reaping positive rewards constantly and consistently. It will seem that good fortune has suddenly favored you, but it won't be luck, it will be the string of good habits that you cultivated. There are 5 habits you need to master that will catapult you to the pinnacle of your field. Whether you are a scientist or an athlete, a salesman or a painter, these habits will make the difference between mediocrity and infamy, between failure and success, and between regret and achievement. Before we get into the habits and the effect, it will be a good idea to understand how these habits come about and how they work. To do that, a little understanding of the mind and the processes it goes through will be our first stop, followed by some basic principles of the law of attraction. Finally, we will go through the steps that will allow you to define and execute the 5 habits flawlessly and consistently. Habits are essentially the only tools you are going to need to reap the rich results of all your hard work. How it happens and why it happens is the focus of the next chapter. Chapter 2: Exercise. This book will provide a number of exercises that correspond loosely to the chapter you read. You need to get a notepad and a pen, keep it in a private place and always accessible to you. Your first exercise is to think of 5 achievers you know about. Draw a pentagram on the first sheet of your book. Place your photo on the center and the names and images of those 5 achievers at each of the vertices of the pentagram. Start reading about these people and write down characteristics that you share with them next to their image. Whatever you share, write it in red; whatever you don't, write it in black. Circle whichever characteristic you find admirable but don't possess. Whenever you need to invoke the characteristic that a particular person has, think of their image and let their face become the brand for that characteristic. Chapter 3: Understand your mind. It is who you are. The mind is not just where we store information and memories, it's a place that holds the secrets of our past and future. It holds numerous functionalities that researchers, even today, are just beginning to contemplate. But from what we know so far, the mind can be divided into 2 critical areas. We know it as the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. Understand that this is not the brain. The brain is the physical organ that resides within the cranium. The mind, on the other hand, is more abstract and highly dependent on conditioning and experience. The brain that is left alone will struggle to become more than the sum of its parts. But the mind has the ability to expand its existing knowledge and use symbolic thinking to advance itself. It is because of the mind that man has moved up the circle life and become the dominant species of the planet. From a psychoanalytical perspective, humans are believed to have 3 parts to the mind: the subconscious, the preconscious and the conscious. The antagonistic nature between the 3 is what is thought to keep the actions of a person within the realm of what is deemed to be acceptable sanity. The conscious mind is everything we can perceive and everything we can rationally refer to. Whatever we are in the process of doing, if and when we are mindful, are kept in the conscious part of the mind. We will expand the conscious part of the mind and delve here a little deeper to make sense of our habits and how to make ourselves successful from it. The second part of the mind is the preconscious, and it is the barrier between the conscious mind and the subconscious. The efficiency of the mind is amazing in this design, as it cues up part of what is going to be needed by the conscious mind as the situation arises. When a certain cue is presented, the preconscious then shuttles the required information to the conscious mind for processing. The subconscious, on the other hand, is also working in the background, but it is almost working on the same issues as the conscious and the preconscious. The subconscious has an agenda and a to-do list of its own. In terms of comparison, the preconscious occupies about 10% of the brain, while the subconscious takes up about 85% or the brain's mental capacity, leaving the rest for the conscious mind. Whatever smartness you think you possess, it is located in that 5% of the mind. Those of us who can tap into the remaining 85% at will, have the world and its treasures laid before them. From the perspective of the mind, the part that handles habits is within the realm of the subconscious. Whatever happens at the subconscious level is never in the purview of the conscious, but it is not the same in reverse. The subconscious is acutely aware of what the conscious is doing, and it even can control the senses, the motor functions and the impulses when it needs to. The familiar Freudian slip is part of the subconscious taking control over the motor functions of speech. When the slip is blurted out, it is something triggered by the subconscious mind. The good thing about this is that the subconscious can be programmed. That is the realm of the habit. Chapter 3 Exercise. Before going to bed every night, find a riddle you read but can't solve. Read it, drink a half glass of water and leave the remaining water on your nightstand. In the morning, before you do anything else, drink the remaining half cup, and you will find that within a few moments the answer to the riddle will present itself. Keep doing this as a practice exercise to connect your subconscious to your conscious. Once you are fairly confident of the power of the subconscious, you can start to pose more complex questions and you will find the answers to them. Chapter 4 Beliefs and Creating Your Reality. It is not just sufficient to want something and have the law of attraction start opening the doors to the universe for us. There is one extra condition that needs to be fulfilled before things start falling out of the sky. To illustrate using the same magnet parallel, when the electromagnet is turned on, the electromagnetic force emanates from the magnet to its surrounding and attracts anything that is made of ferrous material. The electromagnetic force only attracts a certain material. In the same way, the law of attraction attracts only things of a certain material. That material is defined by the set of beliefs we hold in our subconscious. Beliefs dictate our thoughts, our actions, and the things that your subconscious will lay in the path between you and success. If your beliefs are properly set, you will reap the rewards of the riches you desire. But do so at your own risk, because if your beliefs are not aligned with the richness you are forcing upon it, you will not lead the happy life you think you are going to when you attain material wealth. In the situation with the woman who divorced half a dozen times, it was her sincere belief that men were useless and that she should leave them. And if that didn't occur, she would take matters into her own hands and make it happen. Imagine the power of that, if it was used constructively rather than to break up marriages. Imagine if she believed what her mother had told her, namely, that if you find a man useless, don't even get married. She might have remained unmarried all this time and saved countless hours of grief for everyone involved. The beliefs that reside in a person is a powerful thing. The person who planted the beliefs or the situation and circumstances that brought them about may be long gone and forgotten, but the effects remain. If not careful, these effects are passed on to whomever we teach and guide. But all is not lost. There is a way to look at beliefs and analyze them. There is also a way to counter them, alter them, replace them, and if needed, get around them on a technicality. Finding your belief system. Before you can alter your beliefs, you need to look at why you're behaving a certain way. Once you seriously determine that you need to change your beliefs, then we will show you how to change them. But do take this warning seriously. This is not a matter to attend to in haste. Changing beliefs can have a significant effect on your present life and relationships. As such, first look at your beliefs. To do that, you need to be in a position of total reflection. Reflections are described later in this book, but those reflections are designed for daily reflections to fine-tune your daily actions and align them to your thoughts and beliefs. The reflection to understand your beliefs is similar but needs a little more introspection. You do not need the help of a hypnotist. You just need some peace and quiet. The process of evaluating your beliefs is not as plain as asking yourself what your beliefs are. You need to reflect on your actions over a course of time and look at the failures. I find that when you are looking for your beliefs, the best place to start is to look at your failures. Look at them hard and look at them over the course of your life. If you went to school and got the wrong degree, ask yourself how and where that started. Why would you take a course that you didn't like? The answer to what your beliefs are won't express themselves at first but persevere. You can ask yourself how you got to where you're at now, and what exactly is it that you hate about it. You will find, in all cases, without few exceptions, that you are exactly where you want, deep inside, to be. Most people I have talked to find that hard to accept, but it is the truth. Look at it this way: do you really think that there is someone out there gunning for you? Most people in this world find themselves so busy during the day that they barely have time for their families, much less their maternal families and friends. Do you think that there is someone out there who has the time to train their sights on you? Hardly. What is the only constant that has existed from the time you were born to this morning? The constant is you and your subconscious. You are your own life's ladder or stumbling block. Only you. The beliefs you foster and reinforce are a major part of that, and that is what you need to find in this exercise. There is one word that you need to learn in this exercise, and that is the question, why? You just take stock of every failure and every success and find out what was it that precipitated the events. Make one assumption when you do this. Make the assumption that whatever happened, it was your responsibility. Throughout this exercise, always find a way to point to yourself as the cause of whatever precipitated. How could I have avoided that? How could I have anticipated that? And so on. Why has an exfoliating effect? Especially in the company of no one else but yourself. Why peels away the BS and reveals the true nature of yourself. When you peel that last layer and you ask the final why, you will be confronted with the belief that you harbor. Once you find one belief, it is very easy for you to find most of the rest. Do not be surprised that you will even have some beliefs that contradict each other. Once you have found your beliefs, you will also be confronted with one of two possible dilemmas. The first is whether you want to reverse or annihilate the belief, and second, you will be confronted with beliefs that are so profound and a part of who you are that the success you envision will be impossible to achieve while they are still a part of you. These dilemmas are your mental stumbling block. How you resolve these stumbling blocks is the subject of the next chapter. Chapter 4 Exercise. Begin writing down your framework and value system. This is an extremely private monologue, and you will write down your beliefs in as many areas as you can. From here, extract areas that you find may be a hindrance to the career you think will bring you success and wealth. Try to extrapolate what you know about the 5 achievers located on the first page of your book and attempt to ascertain their belief systems that led to the success they enjoy. Compare yours to them. It does not have to be identical. Chapter 5, Removing the Blocks. Now that you have been looking for your belief set and you've come across some seeming inconsistencies, you have come to the point that you need to make some decisions. That decision has to be something that is within you, and it is about who you are. The point is that you are at the crossroads and you need to know who you are. There are many people who come to this point and just crash into a wall. On the one hand, they know exactly what needs to happen to have more money and more success, but they just can't seem to make it across the last mile and onto the finishing line, because one of their beliefs is that wealth will rob them of their ability to cross the finish line. You will be surprised how many people come up with this in the final analysis. It is as valid as the sun rising in the east. But the problem is that it is a major stumbling block. There are 2 ways to remove a stumbling block, regardless of how significant it is. In this case, like the religious convictions of not wanting to be rich, it's likely due to the fear of divine scorn. This is the most deep-seated of problems. We will start with the hardest of beliefs, the ones that drive all other beliefs and thus can be a major stumbling block. Removal of deep-seated beliefs. Deep-seated beliefs are life-changing and they cross over many different areas of our lives. It can go from the way we speak to others to the way we go after a big client. It can go from shunning the limelight, to not getting out of a failed marriage. The numbers are too varied to illustrate. The point is that the natures of these beliefs likely lie at the root of your system, and they were probably instilled in at a young age. There are 2 ways of doing this. One is more permanent than the other, and for those who are new to this, I suggest you take the one that is not irreversible. The reversible way around a deep block is to create a conduit or perform a sidestep maneuver. You need to be Johnny Cochran on this one. You create a set of conditions that you instill that acts as a go-around. Here is how you do it. The go-around entails understanding exactly what belief you want to go around, and why. It also requires a clear understanding under what circumstance you will need to pause the belief from dictating your actions. When you get a full understanding of this, you then rationalize the belief to give way to one specific instance, and you will find that that belief no longer stands in the way for that particular act. However, the second set of actions has a more far-reaching effect and has a more permanent and perhaps unforeseeable set of consequences. In this method you will attack the belief directly. When you successfully alter the belief, everything that you have built on that belief will eventually have no basis, and you will have to reconsider a number of things. However, there are times that you should undertake a little spring cleaning like this to uproot a number of old, strongly held beliefs that could be holding you back for no good reason. The way to remove the belief is to rationalize its continued existence and use logic to work your way around it. It is a simple procedure, but it takes some time and is not achieved overnight. You need to review this on a nightly basis and reflect on the consequences and be totally determined to remove this belief. Once you do this, start with some of the lesser actions that are built on this belief and slowly move towards. But you would have to break some of the habits that have formed over the years with this approach. You just have to be cognizant over which habit you need to break. Another way you could do this is simply to take a recording of yourself saying that you no longer believe in things this way and put it on a loop recording. When you sleep at night, program the recorder to play the recording about 4 hours into your sleep time and have the loop play for about 1 hour every night. At the end of about 3 weeks of doing this nightly, you should have this belief fully resolved. Just make sure you do not have anyone else in the room with you, or wear comfortable headphones, or their belief in this will also be annihilated. Breaking simple beliefs. To break simpler beliefs you do not need to go through much hassle, and it is not as difficult as the deep-seated ones. All you have to do is make a decision to challenge the belief each time it becomes apparent. Within a short period of time you would have overcome this in a positive way, and you should be on your way. Whether your clear path to success is anchored in years of your beliefs or it's a simple case of not really knowing what you are capable of, the path to success is driven by the overcoming of beliefs and the creation of habits. The beauty about the human mind is that if and when there is sufficient will, the mind is set up to change even the deepest beliefs and habits. To help take advantage of the law of attraction, there are 5 habits you can instill that will sharpen not just your character but your ability to harness the law of attraction. These 5 habits are simple to adopt and easy to practice. The first is the ability to remain present in the moment at all times. This ability is so simple, yet it is hardly practiced except by only the most successful people. The second habit is to frequently reflect on their day's events. This creates a person who is dynamic and not rooted in old habits or in new bad habits. When you make a mistake, you catch the mistake and you curtail it before it becomes a detriment. The third habit is to ask for what you want. When you ask, when you seek, when you deeply want something, opportunities will appear in front of you to achieve what you ask for. You need to keep your eyes open and mindful so that you do not miss these opportunities. The fourth habit is how to react. Reacting is a major reason for failure and success. When an event occurs, it is either an opportunity or a time to learn. It is almost always never a time to cower or run, or retaliate. Always react positively. The fifth and final habit is the habit of taking responsibility. When you take responsibility, you take ownership of the moment. When you take ownership of the moment, you take ownership of the path, the destination, your trajectory and your success. Never miss an opportunity to take advantage of claiming responsibility. Chapter 5 Exercise. Categorize your beliefs from the previous chapter into 3. The first category are beliefs that will slow you, or stop you, from attaining your goal. The second category consists of all the beliefs that will advance your goal. Finally, list all the beliefs that you must change but can't. Just keeping a journal about it lets your subconscious know that you are looking for a change, and the change will come about. Chapter 6: The Habit of Matching Space and Time. The first and most important habit that anyone who hopes to succeed should cultivate is the habit of becoming more productive. Time is a metric that measures all we do. Everyone is given the same amount each day, yet there are some people who are highly successful, while there are some who fail at every turn. What is the difference? The only difference is found in the way these two sets of people use their time. One is able to accomplish more, the other is not. The goal is to accomplish, and not just do more. Accomplishment is not the function of constant movement, it is the result of deliberate action. When one group of people accomplish more, they do so because they proceed with deliberate resolve, while the other group fumble in place even though they seem to generate a lot of movement. How does this relate to habit? The first habit in this list is to take advantage of time by accomplishing more, by becoming more deliberate. To do this we need to create a habit on being in one singular space and time. Imagine yourself standing in a square outline. That is your space. While you stand in that space, you belong to the time that surrounds that space. To illustrate, imagine a car factory's assembly line. The line is segmented into stations. Each station has a particular schedule and time. Each station also has a particular task to accomplish. The task where the engine is lowered into the engine compartment takes a certain amount of time and must happen at a certain point. Perhaps it happens after the engine mounts are installed but before the hood. While the body is in that station, it's like you standing in your box of space and time. If you do not do what is called for at that point, you risk disruption of the rest of the assembly. It will throw off the entire sequence of events, and when the car does arrive at its end of the line, it is not at all what it should have, or could have been. The first habit you need to create, and you need to do this before you commence creating and practicing the other habits, is the habit of being mindful and present in your space and time. When you are driving, drive. When you are talking to a customer, engage. When you are on the golf course, play. Don't think about the customer who is deciding on your proposal while you're on the links. Don't think about your golf swing while you're driving, and don't worry about the traffic on the way home while you are talking to your customer. When you do any of these things, your body is in the space it's supposed to be, but your mind is in a different time than what is allotted to that space. What will happen is that you will reach the end of your line, just like the car on that assembly line. Neither of you would become what you would have otherwise been. What to do? First off, if you have been practicing the art of multitasking, then this first habit is going to be the hardest thing to do in your life. Reducing your conscious mind to just handle one task after you've been multitasking for years is a gargantuan task and something that you will likely fail at initially. Do not give up. The benefits are highly rewarding once you get the hang of it. Just like breaking a bad habit or instilling a new good habit takes 3 steps. The first is that you need a cue. At the presentation of that cue you need a sequence of events. Once you have that sequence you need the help of repetition. You have the conscious ability to provide all 3 elements and you can start right away. Step 1. Get an alarm that has the ability to chime on the hour, every hour from the point you arise in the morning, till the time you end your day. Program a message to appear with your alarm that reads as follows: I vow to be in this space and in this point in time doing only what I am doing right now and leaving the rest for its appropriate time in the future. It is not the time to analyze the past, nor the time to contemplate the future, it is only time to be in the present. I am exactly where and when I am supposed to be, and for that I am eternally grateful. Step 2. Every time you hear the chime of your alarm, take a deep breath and exhale. Repeat the breathing 3 to 4 times, each time take a full breath, as much as your lungs can comfortably inhale. Step 3. Once you've inhaled and you are refreshed, read the message that's part of the alarm. It will all take no more than 2 minutes. After a few days of doing this, every time your alarm chimes, you will automatically go into the cycle of breathing and reciting your reminder. That reminder is for you to do exactly what you are doing, and nothing else. What does this do? The recital in the three-step process above is designed to get you mindful of the moment and remind you, then reinforce the concept of being mindful. By doing this constantly for the next few days, the body creates a habit of reminding you what you should be doing. The alarm is the cue, and the breathing and the words inspire you. You have your cue and your reward. You also have your repetition, and this mantra sticks to you like a habit. What this habit does is it creates a pathway to reinforce your consciousness that you need to remain in the moment. As this habit progresses, and you keep listening to your own advice, you will start staying in the moment, and within a few weeks you will begin to see the positive changes this creates and the positive experiences that arise out of the positive repercussions. How does this work? The mind has three sections, as you saw in Chapter 1. The part of the mind that is designed to handle the present is the conscious, and it is the smallest proportion in the total mind. The subconscious is much larger in its ability to handle more processes and analyze more consequences, and is able to process more scenarios to arrive at the optimal course of action. However, the subconscious is drowned out when the conscious is chaotic and loud. It is also drowned out when the conscious is actively trying to perform a task. When the conscious is doing tasks, the subconscious lets go. When the conscious lets go, the subconscious picks up the task. When we pay attention to the present moment, the conscious lets go of all the other things that need our processing power and passes them to the subconscious. It frees up the conscious to do what is going on right in front of us. When the time comes for the next task, the subconscious has already plotted the most efficient path to achieve the task. When you get to that task, that information is passed to the pre-conscious. When the consciousness is presented with the cues of the task, the information is then transferred to the conscious mind and the work gets done. If you continue to remain mindful of this situation, then the next task will also be handled in the same way. Pretty soon you will find that you will be sailing through your tasks and find that you have more time to do more things. By being mindful, you give yourself the greatest gift of all, time. Chapter 6 Exercise. Memorize this and use it. I vow to be in this space and in this point in time doing only what I am doing right now and leaving the rest for its appropriate time in the future. It is not the time to analyze the past, nor the time to contemplate the future, it is only time to be in the present. I am exactly where and when I am supposed to be, and for that I am eternally grateful. Chapter 7 Habit of Reflection. One of the least advertised traits of successful people is that they devote time to reflection daily. Creating a habit of reflection is a major step in getting ahead, and it works ideally well with the habit of mindfulness. Before we get into reflection, here is one aspect of the brain, or the mind, that needs to be visited so that you will understand why there is a need for reflection. Once you get that insight, you can apply it to any changes you need to make on the fly. The subconscious, the preconscious and conscious are all parts of the mind like we have seen in the earlier chapters. It is not a physical division of the brain, but rather the abstract delineation of the mind. Communication between the different parts is not as direct as you may think. First of all, they do not occur in the language we are used to communicating in. Just because you speak English, or German, or Dutch, doesn't mean your brain does as well. The subconscious works on a different electrochemical signaling process. The subconscious knows what the conscious wants, but the conscious doesn't always know what the subconscious is saying. This can be rectified, and we will address it in a different chapter. The best times for reflection are at the end of the day. When all the tasks you need to complete are done and the rest of the household is at rest, the silence of the evening is the best time to be in full communication with yourself. Reflection is about looking at the events of a certain time frame. You can look at the events of the day, or certain events of the week. You can even look at certain events of a particular period in your life. The key is to make this moment of reflection a habit so that it occurs consistently. How to make reflection a habit? As mentioned before, habits are linked to cues and rewards. When done repeatedly, the habit forms, and when the cue presents itself, the habit kicks in. To make reflection a habit, the first thing is to find a cue. Ideally, the cue to start your reflection at night is a simple mantra, just like the one you did for the habit of being mindful. This time, here is a recitation you can do: I vow to be in this space and in this point in time reflecting on the events of my day. I will look upon these events without judgment or scorn, regret or fear. The events of the day have passed, but the lesson is all that remains. Lessons make me stronger by allowing me to repeat what is beneficial, and discard what is not. Here are the steps to get this habit started. Step 1. Make sure the entire house is silent, and go offline. No phone, not text, nothing. The only thing you do after this is go straight to bed. Step 2. Use a lucky artifact that you possess. It can be anything, from an old baseball to a lucky sock. An item that means something positive to you. Something you haven't used in a while. From here on, you will use this item always at the start of your reflection. Note: no writing implements or laptops. Just you, your token and your mind. Step 3. Hold the artifact, sit down, close your eyes, and inhale. Breath in and out till you are relaxed and recite the recitation. You can have it on a note card until you commit it to memory. Step 4. Begin your exercise of reflection and watch all the events of the day with impartial objectivity. No judgment. Decide what to keep, what to discard. If you are left with any uncertainties, pose them as questions. We will address this in the next habit chapter. How does this work? When you take up the cue of your artifact at the end of the day, you are getting your mind to start the process of reflection. The recitation places it in perspective and the process starts. You will do this habitually even to the point where you no longer have the special artifact. At this stage you have formed one of the most compelling habits that successful people have but don't always realize. But there is another element of this habit that happens, that most do not understand, and it does not happen at the point of the reflection. It happens after you've gone to sleep. Once you've reflected, you have placed all the issues directly into the path of your subconscious, and it will look at all the possible scenarios while you sleep and find all the possible outcomes. Everything from your snide remark to the barrister that spilt your coffee in the morning to the praise you lavished on your personal assistant for the great job he did. Your subconscious understands what you want, and it will come up with a set of things you need to do, or stop doing, that will line up with your desires in life. The more you reflect, the more you fine-tune your behavior, and the more you do that, the more you become a master of your actions. When you combine the achievement of being a master of your actions, that means at every station, in the assembly line analogy, you start to be able to fine-tune your efficiency and the actions that result in better outcomes. When you combine the benefits of your reflection and the subsequent fine-tuning of your actions with the habit of being mindful and allocating the present to the conscious and the future to the subconscious, you will take the first true leap into becoming a highly effective individual. The key to getting reflection to work is that it must become a habit. If it is inconsistent, the effect it has on the future actions of your daily routine are sparse and incoherent. There will be little to no effect. Make it a habit, even for just 5 minutes a night, and be amazed at the positive forces that flow into your path. Chapter 7 Exercise. Memorize this: I vow to be in this space and in this point in time reflecting on the events of my day. I will look upon these events without judgment or scorn, regret or fear. The events of the day have passed, but the lesson is all that remains. Lessons make me stronger by allowing me to repeat what is beneficial, and discard what is not. Chapter 8, The Habit of Asking. The third habit you need to instill in yourself is the simple habit of asking for exactly what you want. There is an axiom that is now really a cliché. It says, be careful what you ask for, it may just come true. In fact, everything you ask for will always come true if you allow the conditions to be exactly as needed. So go ahead and make a habit of asking, and when you do, make sure you ask for the big stuff. Just make sure the conditions are right. Here is how and why the habit of asking will be the next step in getting you to the front of the line. Life is filled with all kinds of instances and opportunities. Most of the time we are hardly aware of them, and most of the time they are impervious to us, because we see the world around us through the eyes of our conscious mind. Remember, the conscious mind, while strong, is not as powerful as the subconscious. When we ask for something, what we are really doing is placing a request before our subconscious. Our subconscious always obliges. When that request is made, the subconscious then continuously processes the scenarios that get us to that outcome. It basically plots the most efficient course from wherever we are at a certain point to the point we get what we want. But if we do not ask, we will not receive. There is no instruction, and the rare occasion we seem to get what we need is either by fortuitous happenstance or we asked for it then forgot about it. This is a highly wasteful way of using one of the most powerful processes on earth. How does it work? When the conscious mind asks for something, the subconscious begins a process of plotting a course from where you are now to where you need to be. If you follow the path it lays out, you will then find that opportunities present themselves within your grasp. You just have to have your eyes open and your physical presence and thoughts in the same space to take advantage of the opportunities. When you combine the first habit of remaining within the present and you put it together with this habit of asking, you will find that doors open up for you. It allows you to take advantage of the opportunity because the subconscious has efficiently plotted your path and made you predisposed to the right conditions that will make your request take flight. This will tie in with the habit in the next chapter. How do you instill this habit? The habit is very easy to instill. In fact, it is so easy that you are going to want to start doing it right away. But you should refrain from doing that until you have gotten the first two habits taken care of. This habit of asking has to be consistent. You cannot ask for something today and ask for the opposite tomorrow. You will land up having paths plotted to both and land up not having either for sake of too many opportunities and some conflicting with each other. When you ask, make certain it is indeed something that ties in with who you are and what you want. The key to having the largest house on the block, for instance, is to specifically ask for it, and when the opportunity arises, you grab it with both hands. You stay focused on the moment and do what needs to be done to achieve it. Before you know it, you have the biggest house on the block. This is not a genie in the bottle recipe. You still have to work for what you want, but what it does is that the habits create the ability to open the doors to opportunity. The habit of asking is instilled by placing a request at the end of a morning session that you revisit weekly to plan the trajectory of your life. Choose a day, except the weekend. I have found that choosing the day you were born is as auspicious as any. If you were born on a Friday, do this every Friday. Wake up at your normal time, which by now should be fairly early. My grandmother used to always say that the early bird catches the worm. And I normally hear birds out by 5 a.m. Wake up at 5 a.m. every day of the week, except today. Today, your asking day, you wake up at 4:30 and make it a day where you sit up in your favorite part of the house and look at what it is you want. Even if you've already asked for it, today is the day you are going to renew the request. Where is the habit in all this? The habit is in being able to get your asking schedule and the vibration to operate at the optimal level. You already know by now that habits have three parts: cue, act and reward. When you instill the habit of asking, you are doing two things. You are making a habit of what to ask for, rather than asking for everything on this earth, and second, You are only allowing the most prevalent requests to get through. Once this happens consistently, you will have two effects. First, you will start to see your requests fulfilled, or at least the opportunities that arise will become apparent to you. This alone will be your reward because you will see with your own eyes the power of asking. As time progresses, the Q-Act reward is fulfilled and you make it a habit. One reason to make it a habit, besides not allowing it to regress into being a bad habit, is to make it a point to ask for what you want. You may not realize this, but a lot of people are hesitant to ask for what they really want. They either think they are not worthy of it, or they do not want to be disappointed when they ask, and then they don't receive. Some are even afraid to ask because when the opportunity presents itself they will not have the will or the strength to do the necessary tasks to take advantage of the request. For this reason, leave the asking habit to the third habit you work on, once you have your desires and ideas a little more sorted out with daily reflections. Why make it a habit? The reason you make it a habit and not a random, or ad hoc wishing fest, is because you want to do it under a disciplined environment. You want to be fully aware of what it is you are asking for and what it is you hope to achieve. Chapter 8 Exercise. Whatever you want, whether it's at your local coffee shop, or it's something you want your kid to do, start by clearly asking. Formulate the parameters of your request and clearly express them in unambiguous terms. If there is ever a misunderstanding, seek to find out what part of your request was misunderstood. But do this kindly. You are learning to ask. When someone doesn't understand, take responsibility and rephrase the request. Chapter 9, The Habit of Reacting. The first 3 habits were about you. They revolved around your traits and your effect on the life around you. This habit, the habit of reacting, is about you and how you fit into the ecosystem around you. If you study the truly great achievers of our time, either wealthy industrialists or commercial masterminds, you will notice that they have a very distinct pattern of reaction. Let me clarify. The habit of reacting is not intended to make you reactionary, or to advocate that you should react rather than act. The habit of reacting is, instead, about how to react to external stimuli. Much of the disasters and many of the successes in history are attributed to the reaction, rather than the action. You may wake up in the morning and find that your car is not in the driveway. How do you react to that? If you were to call the police before realizing that your partner took the car to get you an early morning coffee would definitely not improve the situation. Reacting beneficially is what this habit is all about. Reacting poorly almost always escalates a bad situation and destroys a good one. Reacting poorly causes you to lose sight of the opportunity at hand because of the perceived problem. As such, reacting positively in all situations, without exception, is a habit that needs to be inculcated. There is no single habit that can be used to handle all situations, and certainly there is no single response to every situation, but the one thing they must have in common that it is measured and it is positive. One of the things about the human condition is that we react poorly in fear. When we fear something, we naturally react aggressively and impetuously. That's the habit we need to stop and instead instill a habit of positive reaction. When even the harshest critique, or fiercest assailant is presented with a calm and rational person, they are disarmed. The habit that needs to be instilled in place of reacting poorly is the habit of restraint. Whatever you feel like doing to react, you should stop. Don't even laugh it off. If an assailant attacks, avoid the blows, but don't laugh it off. There should be zero response. You must learn to think through a long-term solution and disarm the threat. Reaction that is unconsidered is unwise and never a characteristic of the successful. As Shakespeare would say, nor any unproportioned thought is act. By reacting before weighing the consequences you exasperate the situation, sometimes compounding it, and you land up with a suboptimal response. Never react. Make a habit of not responding to anything without full thought. How to do it? The best way to never react is to make it a rule. It won't become a habit for a while yet, but start with it as being a rule that you rely on every time you are in a situation. Think before you act and let it become a habit in time. You will begin to see the benefit of this in a short while, especially if you have been the sort to respond unkindly and impetuously in the past. Most of your lack of success would have been rooted in this area of your life. When you get started, it will be hard to accomplish. Your best ally is your breath. Breathe in and fill your chest. Exhale that breath and breathe in again. Do this a few times until you feel the pressure driving your response to diminish. But do not appear to be heaving in and out with your breath. Once you have had the chance to breathe, listen to the voice inside you that is softly telling you to not react. Once you get to the point of being calm, then measure a response rationally and coldly and deliver it with the utmost respect. By curtailing a harsh response, you will find that it is easy to convert every crisis into an opportunity that serves you in the pursuit of your success. Chapter 9 Exercise. To practice, always make it a rule to respond after thinking. Whenever you are presented with a situation, take a moment to evaluate your instinctive response and to hold and wait for a more proportional response. Chapter 10 The Habit of Taking Responsibility. Finally, the last habit that puts you on the road to attracting the wealth of the universe and fulfilling your personal law of attraction is to take responsibility for all that goes on in your presence. When Alexander reaped the victory of crushing the Persian Empire, he did so because he took responsibility for its planning and foresight. He did not rule or decide by committee or by popular acclaim, he did so by the hardship and burden of taking responsibility. If he had lost, he would have lost his life and Macedon would become part of Persia. But he took the weight of responsibility and he charged forward. He made it clear that strategic mistakes were his alone to bear. When he did that, he stopped making mistakes. When you easily shift blame to others, you will never learn from the lessons that mistake affords you. How to create the habit? Creating this habit is fairly easy because it coincides with the creation of another habit. When you have the habit of reflection, you are part way there. Except you have to think about broader matters and look at how your actions affect the outcome. No matter what happens around you, as long as you are involved and it affects your career choices and your direction, it becomes your responsibility. Take for example a captain of a ship. The wind may be going one way and the tide another, but the captain cannot just let the vessel be at the mercy of the wind and tide. He has to use what he has in his arsenal of responses to point the path of the ship to his destination. Using his rudder, sail and imagination, he would then weave between wind and tide to get to where he wants to go. In the same way, you take responsibility for steering everything in your way, regardless of where the forces of nature might seem to push you. When you take responsibility, you become the captain of the ship that uses the forces of nature and the situation to get to where you want to go. In this case, your destination is wealth and success. As such, when you reflect at the end of the day, you look at the big picture and find the areas that you need to control to construct a favorable outcome. You look at all the ways that your touch influences things around you and understand which areas that you don't yet influence to find a way of bringing those under your control. The habit of taking responsibility is not to be confused with being a busybody or trying to be a control freak. The idea is about taking responsibility so that you learn how to manage your environment better. When you reflect, there are some things that will inspire you actually leave alone. That's the way you learn. By reflecting, you will learn that not all things need to be handled just to make it go your way. Imagine yourself as King Midas. Remember the myth where whatever he touches turns to gold? Well, it would be nice to get to that point. I always look at the habit of taking responsibility like looking at King Midas. I want to take responsibility of everything around me. Just like the king, I'd like to turn everything around me into gold, another word for opportunity in our situation. But there are some things I can't turn to gold, because doing so actually is counterproductive. For those things, my best outcome results from not touching them. When you reflect, Continuously look at the things that you can be responsible for that will advance our goals. That is how you make your own fortune. Do not expect anyone else to do it. When you reflect and you generate the law of attraction in your favor, you will begin to clearly see all that you are capable of. That's all you need to handle, not more, not less. You are a machine for success. You already believe that, otherwise you wouldn't even crave it. Your deepest instinct is to become successful, and that's because the seeds are already inside you. This book is merely your recipe book to combine the law of attraction to habits and see the success you deserve materialize. Chapter 10 Exercise. Start making habits that you find some of the successful people making, especially the ones outlined in the previous chapters, and start to monitor those habit formations. You will have to consciously before it becomes a habit, but before long, these habits will take root. Chapter 11, Putting it all together. Success is the result of the ideal combination of habits and attraction. If you make it a habit of invoking the forces arrayed in your favor at every turn, you will in no time reach the pinnacle of success. Wealth and success are just two of the things that are within your reach when you discipline yourself to create, maintain and execute these habits. Think of these habits as the engine that generates the force of attraction. It's just like the magnet illustration in the early chapters. Use the habits to turn on the force of attraction and you will find all the opportunity you need laying in front to you. The habits then pick up on the opportunity and you work at getting what you want and what you deserve. Success is not a zero-sum game. The law of attraction is not dependent on supply, it is just dependent on demand. There is an abundant supply of whatever everyone needs, and you can go about getting everything you need to reach the summit of your desires. However, there are a few provisos to this. The first one is that you can't attract anything if you have no desire to do your part to make it a success. This basically means that you have to do your share of the work and apply the labor before the fruits of the labor can be harvested. When you don't do the work and success doesn't follow, the mind slowly stops attracting the opportunity because it no longer sees the reward. This is why having too many aspirations is not good in the long run, it diminishes your ability to attract effectively. You also must not chase everything in the name of the law of attraction. You need to go about your own business and let the habits do what they have to. You can't achieve all this in one day. But at the same time it's not going to take you a lifetime to see the benefits begin to materialize. Once you set the habits in motion, just have the faith and put in the effort. The amazing thing about the law of attraction when you place it within the power of habits, is that it almost seems like it's flying on autopilot, but don't be fooled, it's not. You are in full control and you are the source of your own success. Take responsibility for this success and you will see the geometric progression of this phenomenon. Being adept at the law of attraction is one thing and it will get you to a certain amount of success. But once you make it a habit you will reap the benefits with increasing speed and increasing efficiency. Another thing that you should not do is use this universal force for evil. It doesn't work and could be disastrous in reverse. Use it for your own betterment and your own success. Do not have the intention to be vindictive or cause harm to someone else. The universe doesn't work that way. Each person's failures are their own and not orchestrated by someone else. If you try to use the habits and the law of attraction to orchestrate the downfall of another, it will backfire. Finally, remember that the law of attraction and the formation of habits is something that will make you a better person in addition to making you successful and wealthy. Becoming a better person and becoming successful is not mutually exclusive. In fact, you will find that they actually energize the other. The better you become as a person, the more successful you become. The law of attraction when powered by positive habits knows no bounds. You can achieve anything and you can do it with certainty and resolve. What you have to do is just make the decision to put in the effort. Your free gift. I wanted to show my appreciation for your purchase, so I have put together a free gift for you. Easy to follow 5-minute habits for the law of attraction exercises summary. Just visit the link above to download it now. I know you will love this gift. Thanks. Charles Duncan. Enjoyed this book? Thank you so much for your support. If you enjoyed this book, I'd be grateful if you'd post a short review on Amazon. Your support really does make a difference, and I read all the reviews personally so I can get your feedback and make this book even better. I would love to hear from you because I really value your support, feedback and insight so I can better serve you in the near future. Thank you so much. Charles. Copyright, published in the United States by Charles Duncan. Copyright Charles Duncan. All rights reserved. No part of this publication or the information in it may be quoted from or reproduced in any form by means such as printing, scanning, photocopying or otherwise without prior written permission of the copyright holder. Disclaimer and terms of use. Effort has been made to ensure that the information in this book is accurate and complete. However, the author and the publisher do not warrant the accuracy of the information, text and graphics contained within the book due to the rapidly changing nature of science, research, known and unknown facts and Internet. The author and the publisher do not hold any responsibility for errors, omissions or contrary interpretation of the subject matter herein. This book is presented solely for motivational and informational purposes only.